Thank you for joining us at Text Messages The Resurrection. You're listening to the parasite of the show, Rick Tex, and we're glad to have you here. Without you, we're absolutely nothing. See, sometimes we'll refer to things as we, us, and it's mostly because it's a collaborative effort between you, the ladies and gentlemen at home, and me, the parasite of the show. So you, the ladies and gentlemen at home, are essentially the host, and thus making me the parasite. So it's not, when a lot of talk show, so some talk show hosts, they're great and everything, like the one who had that public access channel in the early 2000s, late 90s, he was definitely a host. But a lot of talk show hosts will call themselves hosts as an insult to the viewers who they perceive as the parasites. So by addressing myself as the parasite, it's showing the utmost respect for you, the ladies and gentlemen at home, as you are the hosts. And without you, I do not exist, which is why I am a parasite. So just in case you were wondering and you wanted some reiteration of that, because you think, just say host. It's one syllable, it's easy, it's quick, it rolls off the tongue. And to say parasite, 3 syllables, it takes a little while. It's a bit cantankerous to have to say it every single episode, along with the resurrection. But the elongated speech actually has as good meaning, and as long as you understand the meaning, then we certainly have no problems at all delving into the details of it. So now what we wanted to talk, as you can see, the video quality is back up to our original specifications. Without the introduction, we don't really need to have the best and smoothest video editing software. So we just figured we'd just go ahead and bring the quality back to where it needs to be. The size of the video seems comparable. Once it's uploaded to Brighteon.com or YouTube or Vimeo or... we tried to get a Daily Motion account once, but something just wasn't jiving with that website. So yeah, we won't be on Daily Motion. Brighteon.com, you had to jump through a couple hoops, but YouTube is pretty simple. Sign up and you're up there. In fact, I've actually been a content creator for the last 13 years on YouTube. So it started in 2006. I think it was like a Hyundai Accent LED turn signal. Because what happened is, you could buy, this was back before LED light bulbs were very prevalent in houses now. So you could actually buy these 12-volt turn signal lights that would hook up in your car. So when I would have had to replace, tail light, headlight, blinker, reverse lights, anything like that, rear running lights, brake lights, I'd go ahead and I would just go ahead and order the 12-volt LED version of it. Saved a lot of energy, looked cool. The thing about LEDs is they're off and on instantly. Whereas the incandescent bulbs, or the halogen bulbs, they're on, and then when you shut them off, it takes them a while to turn off because they're still hot. You heat up a tungsten filament to where it's glowing, essentially orange, or reddish orange, and then when you shut it off, so it takes a little time for the heat to dissipate, which is why when you turn off regular car headlights, they fade out. They don't just click off instantly. And that's why the LED lights were a lot cooler. I didn't have LED headlights, it was LED turn signals. But they're a lot cooler because they would just click off right away. So I figured, yeah, this is pretty cool. But yeah, that was 13 years ago, and we're today, ladies and gentlemen, and running the lowest rated YouTube talk show. Not necessarily a badge of honor, but it's certainly something worth mentioning every once in a while. So what we wanted to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen, is you've probably heard a lot about gut bacteria and the microbiology inside of your intestinal system. You got the small intestines, large intestines, your stomach, then the esophagus, and ultimately it starts in your mouth. So once you start chewing your food, your saliva begins to break it down, then when you swallow it, it continues to be broken down, and that goes in your stomach, and it gets hit with all the acid. That further breaks it down, and then it goes into large intestines, small intestines, and then the colon, where it's finally dissipated into fecal matter, and then hopefully put into some type of septic mound or some other containment apparatus. But, there are biocompostable toilets as well. They're really expensive, but they look pretty promising. So maybe we will consider getting one of them someday and hopefully expunging the goodness of them on you, the ladies and gentlemen at home. But gut bacteria, so Nature Microbiology, it's a journal or magazine, whatever you want to call it. What they found is that bacteria substances can interact with the nervous system, so they're neuroactive. They actually electrically can transmit signals to the nervous system, which is what's causing most of your thoughts, well, pretty much all of them. So the brain is electrochemical. So the gut bacteria, when it's happy, it sends the signals to your brain to be happy, and when it's mad, it sends the signals to your brain to be mad. Now, a lot of you may be wondering why, when you eat bad, unhealthy food, that it tastes good at first, and then after you eat it, you feel horrible. Well, that's because your taste buds are working against your microbiotics. And a lot of that can be attributed to lack of taste bud training, because, see, not all systems in the body tend to work and get along with each other. I mean, take for example, say you want to eat some hot food and then you touch a hot pan. Your hand isn't going to want to touch that hot pan because it'll pull away right away. Whereas your mouth will want you to touch it and eat it right away because it's hungry and your microbiotics want to be fed as well, your probiotics. But your fingers can tell you right away, this isn't good, this is very, very bad, so we can't do that. Whereas when you eat bad food, your taste buds might say, hey, this seems like it's pretty good food. Then it'll get into your microbiotics, and your microbiotics will say, no, this food is complete garbage. We should absolutely not be eating this. We're going to make you feel sick for the next half an hour or hour or 2 or 3 hours, maybe up to multiple days. So that's usually, so generally the body is pretty symbiotic as long as you listen to the communications. And I mean, it does have its free will though. So free will doesn't always lead to flawless judgment. Now, there are 2 types of bacteria. So they did a study on people, and they studied their fecal microbiome of depressed people. And what they found is that 2 types of bacteria, Carbococcus and Dialister, were not found in these particular depressed people, and they are found in other types of people. So they found it interesting that there are two of those strains of bacteria. Now, the compounds released by certain human gut bacteria do influence mental well-being. Some can produce dopac, which is a metabolite of the neurotransmitter dopamine. See, dopamine is the chemical transmitter inside your brain that makes you feel good. You've probably heard of people doing cocaine, and it triggers a lot of dopamine, instant dopamine in their system, then it just crashes it and wreaks all kinds of havoc inside of your brain. One of the reasons why is because it's ingested through the nose, so it gets up into your brain right away. See, and the thing with alcoholics too is they may have an overabundance of the dopamine receptors, so they really enjoy the instant of drinking alcohol, but then they don't really feel the effects of coming off of it. So then when there's one part of your body that really, really desires something, and then you don't have the safety nets to say how bad and horrible it really is, then really, really bad things can happen sometime in the, maybe not the very near future, but at some point in the future. So that's why it's always, so that's why there's an argument going around one day, there is an argument out there now that the better food tastes to people, the more healthy it's supposed to be. So that logic would say that if a food is ultra super sweet, say aspartame or sucralose, something like that, that would indicate that it's healthy because your taste buds say that it's healthy and that it wants to eat it. And that's obviously not the case, because if it was, antifreeze would be very healthy too. And as people know, if you would try to drink antifreeze, you would pretty much die, maybe not instantly, but it would definitely happen at some point in the very near future, and it's not something we condone. We absolutely want you to keep antifreeze away from animals, especially during winter time, because everything else will freeze, all the water will freeze, so then animals will see a form of liquid, they'll drink it, it'll taste good, they'll continue to drink it, then they'll die. And that's absolutely not what we want to do. So the Flemish Gut Flora Project, you can look that up online, FLEMISH, Gut Flora Project. They're studying a lot of participants in Belgium. Apparently it looks like they're studying about 5,000 participants. And what they do is they're trying to get as many human gut bacterial strains as possible. They've identified over about 500 of them. And then they basically just want to see how they communicate, what types of compounds they send out, how they communicate neurochemically, their neuroactive properties, and how they communicate with the nervous system, your brain ultimately. So if they can figure that out, then we can definitely try to identify what types of food people can eat that'll make them feel great again based on their microbiotics, because the microbiotic sees your body as a host. And the microbiotics just live within you, and they use the rest of your body to feed them. It's because bacteria is a separate living entity that exists inside of you. Sounds a little weird and maybe slightly scary, like tapeworms or something. But I mean, good bacteria that works symbiotically with your body is something that you desire. Sort of like having a good neighbor. I mean, you want a good neighbor. I mean, if you don't have any neighbors, yeah, that's cool too. But if you had bad neighbors, then you got some huge problems. And then if you have no neighbors, yeah, sometimes things can get a little boring and monotonous and bland and repetitious. And it's good to have some excitement in the neighborhood too. But to have bad neighbors with, barking dogs, loud vehicles, maybe they break into your house and steal your stuff and things of that nature. It's just overall a bad experience, which is similar to what bad bacteria would be. So, I mean, feed the good bacteria and hopefully starve the bad bacteria, because anything you put into your body, it's either feeding disease or it's feeding the enemies against disease, so it's either feeding the hero or the villains. There's not really much of an in-between as far as your body goes. The bacteria in there either wants to support you or it wants to end you. And you would think that it would make the most sense to support you as you're the one feeding it. But there are a lot of entities out there who, quote unquote, bite the hand they feed. And you ultimately don't want to support those types of gut microbacteria. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to put a wrap on this first segment of the show. We'll be back momentarily to film the second one. We're glad to have you here. We thank you very much, and have a good one.